last week we had an update to World War II in the sense of changing some things around in terms of the Resistance event. We also had an update that actually changed a few things directly in-game and how the game itself played out. And as of today, well, we have another update, but not in the sense of an in-game update. This one pertaining to the weekly multiplayer and zombies updates that Sledgehammer did promise they would be giving. And this is the second week here out of this, in which we have a little bit on the table here at this one, not as much as what we had with last week and probably some weeks coming up, but that's something that whenever you have these constant lines of communication, that's kind of to be expected. Whenever you end up having a ton to reveal at first and then continue weekly, if there's a larger gap in between, obviously you're gonna have more stuff to update people on. So every week that this does happen, of course, the time frame for significant things to come out in terms of relaying to the community becomes a little bit less. So in that sense, I want to prelude this video in talking about that a little bit, where there's not as much as what we talked about last week. Last week we talked about an update coming, which we end up seeing for World War II on Tuesday. We talked about 9 things to potentially look out for, some of which came, some did not, and some we still don't really have any information on, but some do get talked about in this one. But regardless, we're not gonna have as much info to go over as this past week and that update, but we still have a decent amount to talk about and on our plate here at this. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing we get a little bit of information on is that of double XP and gun game, just a simple roundup of things that were added in for this week of the Resistance event. So double XP and gun game is something that is available right now. There's a couple of different contracts and different orders and everything that you can take advantage of within the headquarters and throughout your gaming experience. I think it's 70 kills for the contract of Resistance supply drop, but that shouldn't really take all that long. 18 kills per game plus maybe about 3 to 4 minutes per game. It's something you can breeze through that pretty easy, and if I'm not mistaken, it's an hour time frame on that contract as well. But regardless, this week the Resistance event is focused around that, so the fan favorite is returned for this week, so take advantage of it if you guys have not done so already. The next thing though that we get into is actually dealing with a little bit of an update itself, and something that is way long overdue if you ask me. This dealing with PC missing out on winter bribes from the Winter Siege event. That's months ago now at this point that we ended up seeing this, but for those guys that have no idea the context of this, PC players could have the same opportunities that we could as console players on Xbox One and PS4 to get winter bribes, but the thing is they just didn't work or they weren't available. So while we had the opportunity to, that wasn't necessarily translated over perfectly into the situation that PC players had. So whereas this was something that was an issue back then, Sledgehammer started to roll out compensation for those winter bribes that were missed out on during the Winter Siege event, and they're gifting people 3 rare Resistance supply drops to all PC players, whether you got the bribes or not back then, but that's something that those will be awarded sometime very soon here. Now, unfortunately, that's really all that we have in terms of this. I don't know if that's going to be translated over into additional things for people that actually had the issue itself, or if it's just 3 across the board, but really, if I'm honest, I don't know if I'm too enthralled with that idea, because if people are wanting Winter Siege items, they wanted a bribe, well, a Resistance drop obviously isn't going to give you that option, or as good an option as those winter drops would. So in that sense, I guess that I don't see eye to eye on that, but I do, from an outside perspective, appreciate the gesture to the community of trying to make it up in some way, shape, or form, instead of not having any compensation as that the PC community saw the last couple of months. But nonetheless, let's move on from that, because that's just a small thing here out of this. The next thing that was talked about was Domination XL, or 100 points per kill in Domination. We've talked about this a lot. We've talked a lot about when we can see this coming. We've talked about the implications it may have. It becomes a permanent mode, whatever it may be. But Domination XL right now, there's a lot to talk about, but not really all that much to show for it. We've had various different hints on when it might be coming, but instead, in this update, we actually don't have a specific date. We just have that it's going to be something coming soon, which still unfortunately is the mantra of this, but Sledgehammer did detail how it will work. It's not going to be something that showcases in the standard game modes list, so as you'd see it underneath TDM or War right next to Domination, the regular. Instead, it's going to be a featured playlist, so it'll be like where we see Gun Game 24/7 right now, where we see Carrington 24/7, where these featured and limited playlists end up going for World War II. Now, whether that confirms this is going to be a limited time thing, or if it's going to be something that maybe improves the entire functionality of Domination as a whole, well, I think it's a little too early to end up saying on that front just yet. There's no talk about if it's going to be, say, like a week-long thing, or if it's going to be something that is there for a bit of time and then maybe disappears or maybe changes how domination overall works, but it is going to be a featured playlist. So real quick recap before we jump on into the next topic though is the Domination XL. For those guys that have somehow missed it, Domination XL is going to be 100 points per kill in Domination rather than the standard 50 that it is right now, kind of pleasing the market in which players wanted to see more points per kill and get some more score streaks in Domination. The next thing that was addressed was some score streak tuning. In the update we got earlier this week, we ended up getting a little bit done to the paratroopers in the sense where they were buffed in the sense that they don't have shovels and serrated anymore as a class loadout. They don't automatically shoot at the AI controlled streaks like a UAV flying around. Instead, they're going to just focus on the players that are on the enemy team to be a little bit more useful to what the player that called them in was hoping for, to get some free kills out of it. And while that was all nice and dandy and everything, a lot of people, including myself, were expecting a little bit more on the score streak tuning front, to which that was addressed in this update, talking about those were one of a few changes that are on the workbench for some changes we'll be seeing in an update rolling out in the future. Now, again, it doesn't come out and explicitly say any specific time frame. Last week, we ended up getting some talk about an update, but they specifically mentioned next week, pertaining to this Tuesday that just passed. Instead, we have just something saying an update coming soon. So if I were to guess, and we'll talk about this in a very brief bit once we finish through everything, my guess would maybe be that it's the end of the Resistance event, how we had a title update to change everything back. That's probably my guess, because this coming Tuesday is going to be a hot fix once again, so that we switch into some different playlists for week 5 and the final week of the Resistance event. But other than that, it's not going to require an actual update. So score streak tuning will once again be coming a little bit more in the future. But as for what we end up seeing, currently we only have those paratroopers to show for. The final thing on the multiplayer front dealt with supply drops and some issues that people were having with these, in terms of supply drops being missing, them not showing up in the UI whenever you actually open them up, some different things pertaining to the epic bribes and the Resistance epic uniform bribes, stuff like that. I've been seeing a lot of different reports over on Reddit, but I myself haven't actually opened those up to see just what was up with that just yet. So I'm a little in the dark here with this one, but from what I've seen detailed and what Sledgehammer says, they're working on these to try and remedy the situation and to remedy the issues that people are having with this, so that hopefully within a hot fix, maybe once again a little playlist update today or tomorrow, we end up seeing these little things worked out, because that is again something on the more minuscule scale and doesn't require an actual game update to fix. So that could be fixed in literally just a jiffy, and something that hopefully is fixed, because that sounds like a very big issue. Now, as for the zombie stuff, well, I'm probably not the biggest voice for zombies, as you guys probably know, but zombies, the one thing that I did want to mention is the fact that they are having orders and contracts still worked on. That's something that I've seen a lot of different talk throughout the zombies community, and some of the friends I have over there, they're really looking forward to this kind of stuff. But the one thing that I'm, once again, kind of on the fence with, I appreciate the transparency with it, but I'm not really that big a fan of the timetable, is they mentioned that these are going to be ready to go by DLC 2, which is still a ways off, probably about 2 months, maybe, give or take a few weeks here and there, but that's something that right around the April time is when we get DLC 2. So this is still a long way off, despite what a lot of people might have been hoping for as being rather soon, especially whenever they're implemented in the sense of multiplayer where we have orders and contracts. From a basic glance at it, you'd think that that would be something that is a little bit easier to implement. So of course, I don't have any prior experience as a game engineer or as a developer, so I could be completely wrong. That's just a thought. But it is something that they gave some transparency on it, but I think the timetable might be something that some people were hoping to see a little bit quicker. So all that said, that was the update that we ended up getting, but again, a lot of things are probably still left out compared to what you wanted to hear. As per this update and some of the stuff we've seen previously, we still have no mention of paint jobs, we still have no mention of the flak event being rolled out to everybody, and in terms of Domination XL, something that I'm very much so looking forward to, there's no real adequate information on the time frame as well. The only thing that is mentioned is an update coming soon, but again, coming soon could mean anything. If I were to give an educated guess, once again, the earliest that I would maybe see this coming is the Tuesday, not this upcoming Tuesday, but the Tuesday thereafter, to end the Resistance event, because as what we saw with the Winter Siege event, we did have an actual title update go live to take everything out of there and then change some things here and there within the game. My guess is that would be the same thing that happens at the end of the Resistance event, but that's just all speculation and formulated educated guesses off of what we've seen previously. And really, still, we don't even have that much to pull from in the terms of different experiences. We've only had it happen once, so that's just built off the assumption that it'll happen again. But regardless, that's gonna wrap up this little showcase of the community update Sledgehammer has given us. So that said, I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Is there anything that you hope they would have touched on within this week that they maybe say didn't? Is there anything that you wanted to see expanded on that they maybe did touch on, or whatever it may be? Feel free to let me know down there in the comment section down below. And also, when do you guys think that Domination XL will be coming? Do you think it is going to be after the Resistance event that Tuesday, whenever everything goes back to normal, that we have, say, Domination XL thrown in the mix there, or do you think it's something else entirely? I just want to get your thoughts and feedback, get your general ideas on this. But that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss anything regarding weekly updates like this. Best class setups, tips, tricks, news, information, showcases, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel. So if any of it interests you, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. And if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, it's the best place to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Instagram, I'm trying to get a little bit more active on there. So if you guys want to follow on that front too, feel free to. That link is as well in the description below. But all that said and out of the way, I hope you guys on a fantastic day. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Mine is Espresso. Take care and peace.